and welcome to the GavGoesIn podcast. How are we all doing? So, Arsenal versus Newcastle. Arsenal running out, 1-0 winners. Declan Rice, who would have thought? Big up to Reluctant Gamer. Says Newcastle are shit. I wouldn't say they're shit, but today they were poor, to be honest with you. And some decision making, some of their passing was poor, and I think in that first half, they should have at least, created better chances. Big up to Gamer, big up to DXR. Guys, what do you think of the game? Because I think that first half, Newcastle should have at least gone in at least 1-0 up. And I think the chance that Bruno Guimaraes missed in the first half, I think, he should have scored that. I think the header from Dan Burn from the corner was a good save from David Raya. And then obviously the follow-up was blocked off the line. But I think Newcastle personally will be kicking themselves because, it wasn't a great second half performance, and Arsenal were slightly the better team. Even though obviously in the last, 10, 15 minutes, Newcastle were coming on. But I think they'll be kicking themselves, man. And Arsenal obviously securing Champions League, and for me they'll definitely get second place as well. I'm waiting for Nathan to come in, guys, as well, because I wonder if Nathan's gonna come in with his Declan Rice prop. To be fair, great finish from Declan Rice, but what I would say, pressure's off, and it's easy doing it when the pressure's off. But there's no doubting that was a good strike. I think his overall performance, he was very quiet, I think, overall. But, again, good strike, and obviously wins the game for Arsenal. But, guys, one thing I want to say, and this made me laugh, to be fair. Big up everyone for coming in as well. If you listen to the commentators at the end of the game, and one of the commentators said, Arsenal finishing second for the third season in a row. But the way he said it was like it's a celebration that they finished second. And in my opinion, this is all what's wrong with Arsenal Football Club, and many football clubs in general, is that they're happy to be finishing second. Second just means you're the first loser. That's the way that I see it, But the way the commentator said, Arsenal finishing second, which is meant to be a positive, I think this is what they're gonna need to try and get over the line, and try and get first place. But I think personally going next season, I think you see a lot of the teams being stronger. As I said, I think you see Liverpool making some signings. I think Man City as well. They're gonna definitely make some signings. Who would have thought Man City going through a whole season without winning anything? I know they've got the club World Championships coming up, but they've gone through the whole season with no trophies, which again is unheard of, over the last 10 years, you would say. And then you've got Newcastle, who you'd think will strengthen, Chelsea. So yeah, it's going to be tough for Arsenal next season, but I think they're going to have to definitely be better than they have this season. Guys, come on, make sure we get the like button up. Okay, let's get the likes up. Okay, only 2 likes in there at the moment. Let's try and at least hit 10. There's 13 of you in there watching. So again, if you do enjoy the content, obviously help the channel to grow, and just smash that like button. And again, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. So what do you guys think of the game? What do you guys think of the game? I think Anthony Gordon for Newcastle for me was very poor today. And for me, Anthony Gordon, I don't really rate him that highly as a player. And but I think this season he has been decent, But what I see of him today is why I don't really rate him. I think his final ball, is pretty poor. His decision making as well, I don't think is great. And so many times today, there was times when he should have played the ball through, and he was just overdoing it and getting tackled. Newcastle missed out on Alexander Isak as well today. I think I think if Isak and Joe Linton play that game, I think it's a very different game for Arsenal, and I think Newcastle probably wouldn't have lost that match, you know. And even the goal that Declan Rice scored come from Anthony Gordon giving the ball away, you know. Maybe he thought he was playing for England, who knows? But yeah, as I said, I think he was poor today. You know, Harvey Barnes is a bit of a hit and miss player as well. You know, I think he lacks a lot of quality. You know, he's a winning runner, Harvey Barnes, but in terms of his end product, I don't think it's there. I thought Tonali played well, you know, but Tonali's a top player anyway, you know, always consistent. I thought Bruno Guimaraes was decent. You know, there's a few, you know, wayward passes and poor decision making, but I thought he had a decent game. Their defence was, you know, I don't think they were really troubled, if I'm honest, you know. And obviously they played three at the back, you know, Botman, Dan Burn and Fabian Schär. I don't think they were troubled that much, you know. The wing-backs, again, Livramento. I think in the first half, Livramento made a crucial mistake. You know, he was going through. I think Tonali played the ball through, and I think he was 2-on-1. And I think he was just too eager to try and play the ball through and should have went on his own and decided to take it on his right foot and play the ball to, I think it was Callum Wilson. And then the chance was over, really. And again, Callum Wilson was ineffective, you know, and I think going forwards for Newcastle, they need to move Callum Wilson on. And if they're going to get someone to compete with Isak, as I mentioned before, if they go and get a Johan Visser, what a signing that would be for Newcastle, having Visser or Isak as the striking options. And obviously at times, they could play over two as well. So, yeah, there's things for Newcastle to do. But I think on the whole, they'll be kicking themselves, man, because they definitely had a chance to win the game today. And as I said, I think, you know, some poor decision making, you know, poor quality as well. Obviously contribute to them losing the game, you know. So Arsenal, yeah, second place, you know, and obviously Champions League football again. So again, we're gonna have to see what they do in the summer, because I think for sure they're gonna be at least signing a couple of players, and it'd be interesting to see who they're gonna sign, you know. But guys, big up yourselves for coming in anyway. Again, let's try and hit the like button. We've only got 3 likes, guys, at the moment. So smash that like button if you haven't done so already. And subscribe to my channel if you haven't done as well. So Sham says Newcastle needed Isak. Gamer says we missed Isak and Joe Linton. Yeah, I agree. Again, when you're missing your main striker and you're missing the physicality of Joe Linton against an Arsenal team is crucial, you know, because as we've seen in the past, you know, Arsenal struggle to deal with Joe Linton, you know, because again, he's very aggressive, you know, he's an aerial threat as well. And I think he was definitely missed. And the fact that Isak wasn't playing as well, someone that can threaten him behind, you know, and link the play, I think for sure, man, that was a disappointment for Newcastle. But I still expected them to at least get a draw. But for them to lose the game, and now it makes it a tense finish now for the last game of the season, because Forest won 2-1 today. So they're on 66 points. No, they're on 65, I think, or 66 points. I think, or Chelsea and Villa are on 66 points. Obviously, so Forest are on 65, City are on 65, and again, City's disappointment yesterday in the FA Cup, they now need to put that behind them, and they got a game on Tuesday against Bournemouth, and that's a must-win game for City. If City lose that game, which I don't think they will, or even if they get a draw, who would have thought it? City might actually miss out on Champions League, so they need to win that game at all costs. You know, not even a draw would be good. They need to win that game against a Bournemouth team, again, who are playing to try and get into Europe as well. And yeah, it's going to be a tough game for both teams, you know. But I think you still expect City to win that. But if City don't win that game, they've got Fulham last game of the season, and it'll be out of their hands. So to get Champions League football, and who would have thought City would miss out on Champions League? But I think if they win tomorrow, then, you know, that more or less, I mean, it's not a certainty, but I think that more or less will guarantee them in Champions League, I think, because I think going into the last game, you know, they've got Fulham, and you'd probably think they need a point, you know, so... But yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but it's going to be a good game for sure on Tuesday. Let's go through the chat. So, Gamer says, Gordon is poor. I heard he gave the ball away. What that led to the goal? Yeah, he did. He overdone it in midfield, and then yeah, obviously he gave the ball straight to Odegaard, and then Odegaard just played the ball and laid the ball off nice for Rice with a good finish. You know, but as I said, I don't really rate Gordon. I never have rated Gordon really, but this season he has been decent. But today he was very poor, and I think since his suspension, you know, I think he hasn't looked the same player that he did before that. You know, he was a bit of a threat, to be fair, before he got suspended, but since he's come back, he hasn't really been that good, in my opinion. So yeah, he was poor today. So Gamer says we need a better left winger and right winger after this game. Yeah, but as I said, for me, right wing is key for Newcastle for me, because you know they definitely need to strengthen that position. And again, the two names that I've mentioned in this league, Mbeumo and Mohamed Kudus, would fit in, you know, seamlessly at Newcastle, and would provide, you know, a massive threat for Newcastle going forwards. Or if they wanted to look, you know, I mentioned in Scotland they got a player called Nicholas Kuhn at Celtic. You know, I think he's got a lot of quality. Whether he has the physicality for this league, I'm not too sure. But I think in terms of quality, he's got that. So, yeah, Newcastle need to be looking at those three players for me to improve their attack. And then on the left, you know, you got Gordon, you got Barnes. But is there upgrades on both players? There is definitely for me. And as I said, Acuna and Eze, you know, someone of that ilk, would improve Newcastle, definitely, and will be an upgrade on both of those players, you know. So, and obviously, as I said, I mentioned already, Visser, you know, imagine if they got Mbeumo and Visser at Newcastle, what a combination that would be with Isak going forwards, you know. But yeah, as I said, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, Jamie Vardy, 200 goals, you know, career goals for Leicester, and obviously signing off, you know, for Leicester for their last game of this, his last game of the season for Leicester. And to be fair, Jamie Vardy, man, he's been a great servant for Leicester. I think he's been there for 13 years. You know, league winner. Obviously played Champions League for Leicester as well. And yeah, man, he's had a great career, man, considering he come to the Premier League very late. You know, but to get 200 goals for Leicester, you know, is great doing, man. So, and what 500 games as well. But yo, it's a lot, man. So he's had a great signing. He's been a great signing for Leicester. I mean, I think he costs what, £1 million, I think, as well. I think 1 million or less than 1 million. So yeah, he's been a great signing for Leicester, man. I wonder where he goes next, because there is talk about him staying in the league, but you would think that Leicester getting relegated, the only possible teams he could go to, you're looking at, you know, lower level teams in the Premier League, or maybe teams that are just coming up into the Premier League. You know, who's come up? You got the likes of Burnley, Sheffield United, and who's the other team? Leeds. You know, so I think any team that's coming into the Premiership, you know, they might take a punt on someone like Vardy, but I can't see him going to no team in the top 10. Maybe bottom half of the league, slightly higher, maybe. But again, I think he's turning 37, 38. So yeah, it'd be hard to see where he goes really. But what a career he's had, man, and he deserves the plaudits. Big up to Exedra, big up, bro. Guys, don't forget as well, I'm live tomorrow at 12:30 with Exedra as well. So we're gonna get into some talk, obviously, with the Europa League round the corner on Wednesday. So we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss the Champions League final as well, the likely winners. And of course, guys, we're going to discuss the team of the season, who we think should be in the team of the season. So if you guys are free, make sure you come on tomorrow at 12:30 and give us some support, and obviously give us your questions and your chat as always, you know. So yeah, we'll be live tomorrow, me and Xedra at 12:30, guys. So as I said, make sure you come through tomorrow. So shouldn't go through some of the chat. Let me see. So Sham says Vardy isn't going to play the final Leicester game because he wanted to sign off with a goal to make it 200 on the day he signed. Today was his last game. Yeah, that's what I heard earlier today as well. So yeah, it's his last game, man. But as I said, I'm not sure where he goes after this. But I think he said that. I think there was a recent interview with him, and I think he mentioned that he definitely wants to stay in the Premiership. So whether he's got any suitors, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, what a career he's had, definitely. So yeah, but guys, what do we think of Arsenal? Do we think Arteta deserves another season? You know, because I know he's got them into the Champions League again, but this will be what, season 6 for him, I believe, and one trophy, which wasn't his team. So I think definitely he's going to be there next season. Do I agree he should be there? Not really, because I've never seen a manager get afforded such time at a club having not won anything, really, you know. And for some reason, Arteta is the chosen one for Arsenal, but he's going to be the next season. And you would think this might be his last, because, you know, I know we keep saying it, but if Arsenal don't win anything, he has to go. But we've been saying that for the last couple of seasons now, and but you would think with Andrea Berta coming in, you know, his days are probably numbered at Arsenal if he doesn't win nothing next season. I think if he doesn't win nothing next season again, you know, I think you'd have to question what's going on at Arsenal, because why is this manager so protected and so loved? I just don't get it, you know. But who knows? Who knows? Big up to Lumi Rain. Yeah, big up. Yeah, literally, Sham. We're gonna do that tomorrow, 12:30. Me and Xedra, team of the season, you know, and obviously we're gonna have to agree on every position, you know. Obviously, we might have a difference of opinion, but you know, I've got a few names that I want to put forward, which, you know, some people might be surprised at. But yeah, we're gonna get into that tomorrow, man. So make sure you come through at 12:30, and as I said, give us some support there. Yeah, I agree, Zedra. I don't think Arsenal have the courage either, to be fair. I think, you know, they've settled on this guy for some reason. You know, it is mad, you know. And again, when you've got the pundits and the media doing a lot of the prop for Arteta, you know, it feeds into a lot of these Arsenal fans. You know, not every Arsenal fan, because a lot of the Arsenal fans are switched on, but the majority of them are just riding the wave with Arteta. And the facts are, for someone that's been at the club for that long and has not won a trophy yet, why he's getting so much time is actually crazy, you know. And yeah, you will say he has taken them forward, you know, in terms of, you know, they're more competitive in the league now. You know, they've got the basis of a decent team, but let's be honest, you know, they're not winning nothing, and they still haven't won nothing. So I don't get it, but you know. So Gamer says, if they want top 4, keep Arteta. If want title, then sack him. That is exactly what I'm saying. But I think next season, this top 4 race is going to be even more tougher. I think next season, because, you know, and personally, I don't think Arsenal finish second again. I think they finish outside of the top 2. You know, because for me, I think it's going to be an interesting top 4 battle next season. You know, that's what I think. I can't even tell you who wins the league. I think everyone points towards Liverpool, but you know, Liverpool's who's to see. I think we got to wait and see who they sign first. Personally, you know, I know Jeremy Frimpong's going to be there now, you know, which is a decent replacement for Trent. You know, they're looking at Kirkes and, again, who else they're going to sign. So I can't actually tell you who'll be the favourites. I think majority will say Liverpool again. But I think what's good for... Well, I say what's good. I think the fact that City haven't won nothing this season, I think the whole league need to brace themselves, because I can see City signing about three players that go straight into their lineup. You know, again, Florian Wirtz and Tijani Reinders have been mentioned, but I can see them signing another player. And I think if they get three top signings in, Rodri coming back as well, I think they're gonna take some stopping. You know, and I think the fact that they got beat yesterday, I think it's gonna be problems for the league, you know, next season if we're predicting that they sign some players. You know, guys, come on, let's smash that like button. Let's get up to 10 likes, guys. Come on, we're on 6 at the moment, but big up yourselves and let me know what you think in the chat as well. So Sham says Arteta can't get them over the final hurdle, so that means they need to move him on. Yeah, again, I've been saying that for time, but I think there's no point even debating this, because he's going to be there next season. And as you said, man, if he's not going to get them over the hurdle. And, you know, I don't really care who they sign, because I'm no manager that's been there for how long he has and still hasn't won them a trophy, really. I don't think there's nothing to be fearful of. So we'll have to wait and see, man. But I think safe to say today, he won the battle between him and Eddie Howe. Again, Eddie Howe will be disappointed, because I think Newcastle, in that second half, they didn't really turn up. You know, as I mentioned, some poor decision making from the likes of Barnes, Gordon, you know, Willock when he came on as well, some poor decision making and poor quality in the end, you know, and it shows that Isak not playing today, he was a massive miss, you know, so we'll have to wait and see, man, what they do in the summer. But again, their Champions League place is not confirmed now, because Forest winning today, Forest going to the last game against Chelsea, and now what a game that's going to be, because whoever wins that game between Chelsea and Forest, you would more or less say are in the Champions League. Again, City got a game on Tuesday against Bournemouth. Newcastle got Everton at home, which you'd think they should get over the line there. And then you've got Aston Villa away to Man United, you know. So yeah, man, this race is mad. But I think, as I say, Arsenal have secured themselves with that win, and as I said, on to next season for them. So as I just said, out of all the fan bases, they have the worst standards holistically. Yeah, do you know what? I agree. I will go along with them and Man United. I think the majority of the Man United fan base have low standards as well, because, you know, I won't get into it too much, but the fact that Ruben Amorim, you know, a lot of these fans think Amorim should be staying, you know, doesn't make any sense, you know. But I think along with Arsenal, the majority of the Man United fan base have low standards. And, you know, I think Wednesday is going to be the penultimate day for Ruben Amorim, you know. As I said, I want him gone regardless, but for his own career, you know, Wednesday's the game, because this season's has been dreadful, to be fair, you know. Big up to Kershine Subramoni. Big up to I Am Titanium as well. Yeah, listen, I'm not an Arsenal fan, but I think the fact that Arsenal still have Arteta in charge, you know, is laughable. But as long as Arteta's there, man, he ain't winning nothing major with Arsenal when it really matters, you know. And when the pressure's off, this is when, you know, some of their players start playing, you know. But again, the Champions League semi-final, when the pressure was on, you know, this is where you see what Arsenal are really about. And again, they're out of the Champions League, so yeah, we'll have to wait, man. Yeah, Gamer, I agree, man. Top 4 will be tougher next season. I think you're gonna have, you know, the usual teams: Liverpool, Arsenal, City, Chelsea. I think will be in there as well. Newcastle, I think, I think Villa will strengthen as well. So yeah, that top four, top five race is going to be mad. Man United, I don't believe will be in any top five race, but they're going to try and strengthen. But a lot of it depends on what manager's going to be there. What players they can get, and obviously if they win the Europa to get more money. So we have to wait and see for that. But yeah, I agree, man. It's going to be difficult next season for Everton, for whatever team really. So Gamer says, if you finish next season in top five, do you qualify for Champions League also? I think you do, because I think England got an extra place, obviously, I think because of how far a lot of the English team have got into the latter stages of the European competition. So I think next season might be 5 again, which is going to make it even more competitive. So I think it is, man. Yeah, big up Titanium. So I am pleased for Palace. Yeah, listen. I said before the game, City should be the favourites, and rightly so. But Palace have got some dangerous players in their team. Eze, Mateta, Adam Walton, who's a top player. Ismail Assar. They've got some players in their team who are good. And guys, what did I say? Because if you watched one of my streams from before, I said United should be targeting Eze or Cunha. And for me, Eze's a top player, man. And I think now, because they're in Europe, his price tag might have been increased now. But if United are looking at Cunha for 60 million, I don't know why there's no talk about Eze. Because Eze, for me, is every bit as good as Cunha. And Eze, for me, is primed for a move as well. But I think if any club comes in for him now, I think the price tag might have gone up by about 10, 20 mil, probably. But I think he's someone that's worth investing in, because I think he will get better. I think his end product for me, is up and down. But I think it's safe to say this season, he has improved on that, and I think he'll get better if he goes to a bigger team where he's afforded to do his where he's going to be in the chance of increasing his numbers and his with the quality around him. So I think he's someone that needs to be targeted. But whether other teams are looking at him, I'm not too sure. But yeah, man, getting the winner yesterday. And again, his finish yesterday was class, on the half volley, And again, Daniel Munoz, man, the right wing back, he's someone that's had a very good season. There might be a few teams looking at him as well. I think if you're a team that plays 3 at the back and you're looking for a right wing back, you might want to be looking at him, because he's had a very good season. So yeah, man, I'm happy for Palace as well, man, because they deserved it. And again, another London team that's won a trophy. So you've got Palace, who's won a trophy this season from London. You got Tottenham in the final, Chelsea in the final. Who else is there? Arsenal. Oh no, Arsenal didn't make it. My bad. Sorry. But yeah, as I said, yeah, Palace have done well, man, this season. And again, big up to Oliver Glasner, someone that's come in, without his own players, as so many people want to tell you managers need. And look at what he's done for Palace, man. He's got them playing some good football. So Sham says, I never used to have a problem with Arsenal, but past few years they've had their head stuck up their arse. Yeah, listen, you're not wrong, man. They have the most deluded fan base I've ever come across as well, But as I said, man, as long as they think Arteta's the guy, then let them run with that. Because, as I said, if I was an Arsenal fan and I had a manager that was there for like 5-6 years and won nothing, I'd be asking serious questions, So yeah, we have to wait and see, man. But do you know what? It's actually weird, Justin. Big up yourself for asking that, because I'm having a little glance now on this. I'm on Sky Sports, and that's what's come up. So, what do I think about the last game at Goodison Park? Yeah, man. Listen, Everton, obviously, I think it's a good thing for Everton. They're going to Bramley. Is it Bramley Moore Dock? Bigger capacity as well. And I think personally, I think they needed to do that, man, to kind of, if they want to try and, be recognised as a more serious club, they needed to move away from Goodison Park, and obviously winning the game today as well. Was it 2-1? I think they won at Southampton, I believe. Yeah, listen, they've got a couple of players as well in their team. I like Iliman NDI. At Everton, plays on the left. And he's someone that I can see him going to a bigger team as well. And being like a maverick player, because I think he's got that in his game. Obviously, if anyone remembers, Iliman NDI used to play for Sheffield United as well. But you can see the way that he's been deployed by David Moyes as a, someone that plays on the left. He's a very good player, man. And I'll be surprised if there ain't a few teams in for him. But I think he's someone that can go to a bigger team, and start and show his worth. I believe, Guys, big up yourselves. That's 10 likes on there. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you do and check out my other content. And again, if you haven't smashed that like button, it just helps with the channel to grow, guys. And big up yourselves each and every time. So yeah, Gamer says, if Forest and Newcastle and Villa win, then Forest won't go through. Yeah, I agree. So, again, Forest, they got a tough game at home to Chelsea, and you know what? I think one of those teams are going to miss out. And, I can't think that it's going to be Chelsea, because that would just be a disgrace, really. And from what I'm hearing, Maresca's going to be there regardless if they get in there anyway. But let's be honest, man. If Chelsea don't get in Champions League and Forest do, I think their fan base are going to be a meltdown, So, but yeah, Newcastle, I think Newcastle get through. They got Everton at home. Everton ain't got nothing to play for. And Newcastle at home as well, they're very strong and they'll be going all out. So you'd expect them to get the Champions League spot. Big up to Riley Bird. Yeah, big up for subbing. Big up yourself. So Mr. Dix, big up to Mr. Dixon, base Raider. He says, Sheffield United or Sunderland, who you got? Oh, in the playoff final. That's a tough one, because I think the favourites will probably be Sheffield United. I think Sheffield United finish higher than Sunderland in the league. But I look at Sunderland, and I think Sunderland have a few players that are capable of turning the game. They've got Chris Rigg in their team, who I think is a great player. I think he's very good. And I think he's someone that comes to the Premiership regardless if Sunderland get there or not. I think he's only, 7? I think he might be 17. I think he might be. Obviously, he's been linked with Man United. And these are the kind of players I want to see United sign. Players like him, players like Tyler Dibbling, that are at the lower clubs that need to be playing for, some of the top clubs in the country. Even though United ain't that at the moment. But yeah, I think they got Chris Rigg, they got Patrick Roberts, Joe Bellingham, is it Mayenda, the striker, and is it Izadior, I think, as well. So they've got some players there. Obviously, Sheffield United have got some experience in their team as well. I like that Gustavo Hamer that plays for them, formerly of Coventry. I think he's a good player, and I think he could be key for them in that final. But if I'm gonna put my hand on it, I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna say Sunderland. I'll go with Sunderland, but I think Sheffield United won't be an easy game for Sunderland. But I'm gonna say Sunderland. But big up to Mr. Dixon. Big up to brother SL. Any Bayern fans? Yeah, big up, man. Bayern obviously winning the title. Harry Kane's first title as well. And yeah, I think Harry Kane, in terms of his career he's had, he definitely deserves a title to win. But again, I think if we're being serious, Bayern will be looking at Champions League, because Bayern are expected to be winning the league title, really. Let's face it, man. They dominate that league. They cherry pick the best players from other teams as well in that league. So they are expected to. And the fact that Kane's gone to Bayern and won the league, it's not a surprise, really. but they'll be looking at the Champions League, if they're being honest, Big up to Barbara Joseph as well. Big up to Javier Samuels. Yeah, big up, man. Gamer says, one name I forgot, man. Bloody hell. Obafemi Martins, Demba Ba, or Papis Cisse. You know what? That's actually quite a good debate with these three players, because you've got the ridiculous pace of Obafemi Martins, you've got the target man and the link play of Demba Ba, and then you've got Papis Cisse, who is probably the better finisher out of all three of them, and is probably a bit of a mix between both Obafemi Martins and Demba Ba. Obviously not as quick as Obafemi Martins, and his link play or target man play wasn't as good as Demba Ba. So you've got three players there that are very different, but obviously all three of them Africans. You got a Nigerian, a Senegalese, and I think was Demba Ba from? I think he might be Senegalese as well, if I'm wrong. Who would I pick? That's tough, That's a tough one. I'm gonna say Papis Cisse. I'll say Papis Cisse. I was thinking, yeah, it's tough. Because Obafemi Martins, Obafemi Martins, when he was at Inter Milan with Adriano, them two as a strike force was chaotic. It was madness. I mean, there was pace, strength, you name it, So if anyone remembers Inter Milan, when they had Adriano and a young Obafemi Martins, they were an absolute problem together, both of them. Two left footers as well. Yeah, Martins was ridiculous. I think Obafemi Martins, again, I think he was someone that was a lot older than they said he was, from what I was hearing, I remember actually years ago going to I was in college, and I think, what was I? I would have been about 18, 19 at the time, I think. And I remember in my class there was a guy from Nigeria actually, and he actually said to me that he went to the same school as Obafemi Martins, and he was at least a good 4 or 5 years older than me at the time, and he told me that Obafemi Martins was at least 2 years older than him. So yeah, that's mad. So yeah, as I said, man, but Obafemi Martins was an absolute joke with his pace, But yeah, I'm gonna say Papis Cisse. But big up, man. That's a great question, Gamer. So yeah, listen, I am Titanium. Yeah, Eze, man. Eze's goal was class, and Eze's a top player, man. I think if you're looking at all the Palace players on that pitch, there's probably only 2 players I would say would have scored that goal for their team, and that's Eze and Adam Wharton, because it was a highly technical goal to score that. The way he met that on the half volley with a defender coming in, it wasn't easy. But yeah. So brother SL says, do you watch Bundesliga at all? Yeah, I do, man. Of course. Yeah, let me know your questions, man. Let me know what you think. But yeah, I watch Bundesliga. So how much would Munoz cost? Well, how much did they buy him for? That's the first thing. I would say in today's market, I think Daniel Munoz from Palace, and you have to take this into account, Palace wanted, well, Newcastle bidded what, 70 million, I think it was, for Mark Guehi, and turned that down. So I'm thinking Daniel Munoz, the season he's had, possibly 40 million, I would say. I'd say 40 million might get him. I think that's what they'll price him at, 40 million. Big up to Paul Brady. So everyone's saying Palace are great, but they finished 12th with no injuries, got lucky to win the cup, just like Newcastle. So Paul Brady must be Paul Brady's either an Arsenal fan or a City fan. That's what I would say. But to be honest with you, no one's saying Palace are great. They're a very good team. That's the first thing. And what I would say is that, you know, if we're saying they got lucky to win the cup, I wouldn't say they got lucky. I think they played the game right, because everyone knows that Man City are going to dominate possession. So the way that Glasner set them up, you know, in a low block, which is what he had to do, and use the pace on the counter. You know, you can't really blame Palace for doing that, because the way their goal was scored, it worked. So I wouldn't say they got lucky. I think they played the game right. And as I said, the move for the goal, you know, the ball up to Mateta laid it off to Munoz, and then Eze's coming in with a cutback, and then the great finish. So I wouldn't say that they got lucky. You know, I just think that the way they set up was always going to set up like that, and it would have been down to Man City to try and break them down, and obviously they didn't. So no one's saying Palace are a great team. They're a very good team, and they deservedly won that trophy, man. So yeah, I'm not quite sure when you're saying that they got lucky, because I don't think they did. So yeah, brother SL says Harry Kane finally won his trophy. Yeah, and well deserved as well, because you know, he's goal scoring and obviously the quality of the player that he is, he did deserve a trophy. But if Bayern Munich are being serious, the Bundesliga, they win that really more or less every season. So the Champions League is what they're gonna judge the Harry Kane the Harry Kane signing on for me. So, but yeah, big up, man. So Paul Brady says Liverpool and City played awful though. What did Palace play? Palace didn't play Liverpool in the FA Cup, did they? I'm pretty sure they didn't play Liverpool in the FA Cup. But yeah, listen, Palace can only beat what's in front of them at the end of the day. And to say Palace got lucky, like I don't agree with that, because you know they beat an Aston Villa team that were in good form as well. They beat City in the final, and any team beating City in the final, you can't say they got lucky. You know, you can say that they rode their luck, but I wouldn't say they got lucky. I think they deserved to win the game, man, because City couldn't break them down. And again, City had a penalty that they missed. And again, Omar Marmoush is a very good player, but I was surprised that Haaland didn't take it, to be fair. You know, and you know what? The fact that Jack Grealish didn't get on that pitch, I think it's safe to say that Grealish will be off next season. Someone of his quality, man, can't be on the bench not playing. You know, and Claudio Echeverri come on, who's going to be a good player, and Grealish got absolutely no minutes. You know, and guys, I told you, if you watched my stream the other day, I mentioned Phil Foden. I told you Phil Foden has regressed a lot, and he's going to find himself, you know, his game time is going to be rare, especially if they get Florian Wirtz and Reinders in that team. I don't know where Phil Foden fits in, you know, and you know, I don't think Foden gets sold because again he's come through the youth, but his game time will be severely impacted, and that's going to impact his game time for England as well. You know, Phil Foden is, I think I'll go as far as saying, I think Phil Foden's been, I think he's been found out. You know, I think he's a very good footballer, but you know, I think the way the game's very physical now, he doesn't really have the physicality. And you can see that when he gets pressed, you know, he hasn't really got the strength to hold anyone off, really. But I'm hoping he does rediscover some form. But I think the way City, where City want to get to, and the way that I believe they're going to spend in the summer, I don't know how Foden fits into that. You know, because again, where's Foden's best position? Some would say the 10, some would say the right. I don't think he fits on the left no more. So, and on the right-hand side, you know, they've got options as well. So, and in that 10, you know, there's talk about Florian Wirtz, as I said. So, I don't really know where Foden fits in. But I think for sure, man, he's gonna have to think about his career, you know. Maybe he might go to Pep, you know, he wants to move on. You know, and again, if he does move on, obviously because of his name, he will have suitors. But I worry about his future for Man City, if I'm honest. You know, but big up anyway. It's big up to Cameron Gontier. I support Tunley Athletic. I've never heard of Tunley Athletic, man. Whereabouts are they based, Cameron? Big up yourself, man. So I Am Titanium says, what's the first World Cup you can remember? Good question, man. I can't actually. That's a good question. I can't actually remember. I actually can't remember the first World Cup. If you tell me some things that happened, then it might jog my memory, but I can't actually remember. Big up, man. Big up to Daniela Iacona as well. Oh yeah, Sunderland and Newcastle derby. Yeah, yeah. Listen, that'll be a Northwest derby if Sunderland come up to the league. The thing is with all the promoted teams, you know, I don't really have any hope for any of them staying in the league because I think the money in football now, you know, is so much superior for the teams in the Premiership compared to some teams in the Championship. As you can see, all the 3 teams that got promoted last season into the Premier League have all gone down. And I think that's going to continue because I think the gap between these Premier League teams now and the Championship is getting even bigger, you know, with the money. So, yeah, I fear for the teams that are coming up. You know, I think who's the most likely team to stay in the league out of all 3 of them coming up? You'd probably say Leicester. You'd probably say Leeds. But it won't surprise me if all 3 of those teams get relegated because, as I said, the money in football now, especially in the Premier League, is far superior to the Championship. Even though obviously winning that playoff, the clubs do get a lot of money, but I think it's too much. So Daniela says Barcelona is leading. Let's hope they win tonight. Oh, who Barcelona playing, Daniela? I didn't even know they were playing tonight. Who they playing? Yeah, Gamer says, oh my God, I forgot about Martins and Adriano. Yeah, bro, listen, man. When it comes to football, man, I've seen a lot, man. And as I said, Adriano and Obafemi Martins together, that was deadly, man. That was a deadly partnership. You know, especially in that league, where that league isn't about physicality, isn't about pace. And you've got probably one of the strongest strikers in that league. And then you've got one of the quickest player, if not the quickest player in the league, in Obafemi Martins. And that combination there, yeah, was frightening, man. The funny thing is, though, I'm not even sure what they won. But what I do know is that watching Adriano and Martins together, you know, was a problem for any team they came up against, any defence. Big up to Joe Bond. Big up to Paul Brady. So Foden got too cocky. You know what? I wouldn't say Foden got too cocky. I don't think so. I think what's happened is that the media, as what they do, you know, a lot of fans as well, and and especially the pundits, they've built Phil Foden up to be the next Gascoigne. You know, I heard so much talk about Foden. You know, when obviously England won the Under-17 World Cup, they were saying this is the next one to come through into England. As I said, they were saying the next Gascoigne. You know, if anyone remembers, was it the World Cup or the Euros when Foden had his blonde hair? You know, so they were building him up, and I think what's happened is that he's been surpassed by a lot of his England peers, I would say. If you look at Morgan Rogers obviously used to be at Man City, and he's come from nowhere, and you'd comfortably say now he's ahead of Phil Foden. You know, if you look at for England, Saka's ahead of him. Then you've got Cole Palmer's ahead of him. You know, obviously they put Bellingham ahead of him, even though I don't think Bellingham's a better player than him. But you would say Bellingham, in terms of starting for England, he's ahead of Phil Foden. So yeah, I think Phil Foden has regressed. He hasn't been as good as he was last season for City. And I think the fact that City have struggled this season, they're going to go all out and sign some players. So where does Phil Foden fit into this team? That's the biggest question he has to ask of himself. Because I'll tell you this now, if they get Florian Wirtz, you know, that means he's yeah, he's gonna struggle for game time for sure. So the first time I remember was watching. So Sham says the first time I remember watching was Euro '96 and then World Cup '98. We're in the same age gap, so it must have been the same. Yeah, listen, World Cup '98, is that when France beat Brazil, I believe, in the final? Zidane got 2. If that's the game, then yeah, that was one of the best World Cups for sure. Obviously, Euro '96 is when Gaza done the famous, you know, with the bottle squirting into his mouth. Yeah, I think that's the one. But yeah, listen, whenever World Cup comes on, you know, I'm always glued to it, and the Euros, you know. But I can't actually tell you what's been the best one. I think, in actual fact, I would say when Brazil had R9, Ronaldinho and Rivaldo, when they played England, when Ronaldinho scored the free kick over David Seaman, which a lot of them thought it was which a lot of people thought it was a fluke. But again, if you just watch Ronaldinho, you know that there was no fluke because he practiced that. I think that might have been World Cup '98. I remember. That was a great World Cup. Okay, so they're drawing 2-2 with Villarreal. Okay, I didn't even know that, but yeah, they won the league already, Barca. So Echeverri looked good when he came on. Yeah, listen, Echeverri, obviously they're saying he's the right-footed Messi. You know, that's what they're saying, and you can tell from his diminutive build as well. I think he's more stockier than Messi, but yeah, you can see like little touches in that he looks good. And again, that's another player there that Phil Foden has to look out for, because I'll tell you what was telling is that Echeverri come on at the same time as Foden, and Foden went straight to the right, even though Pep does like playing with the left footer on there. But it's telling that Foden went straight to the right and Echeverri went in the 10, when many people would have thought Foden would have gone in the 10. So that just shows you there and then that, you know, even Echeverri now is someone that Foden's got to contend with. And Echeverri is someone that is highly rated. So, again, he's going to have a tough time, Foden, trying to get in this team. So, yeah. Okay, yeah, Lamine Yamal. What? So, Yamal and Lopez both scored again? Fermin Lopez and Lamine Yamal both scored again. They were the 2 scorers against Espanyol. So, that's mad. 2 youngsters from La Masia as well. So Lumi Rain says, do you think Chelsea would drop out of top 5? Big up, Lumi. If I'm honest with you, I'm gonna say no, purely because Chelsea can't afford that. Like, you know, I mean, who would have thought Chelsea would be struggling to get Champions League football with the money they've spent? You know, and they're going to a Nottingham Forest team that really have to win to get Champions League as well. So I don't know. I think Chelsea would get over the line, man. They have to, you know. But as I said, if they don't, then they have to sack Maresca, really. But I'm gonna say yeah, they get over the line in top 5. I'm gonna say yes. Yeah, Fabio Cannavaro, Ballon d'Or. Again, I think he's the only defender to win Ballon d'Or as well. Was World Cup 22 for me? Oh no. Okay, yeah. So World Cup '98 was when Zidane won it for France with the 2 headers, and then 2002, I believe that's when R9 was that when they beat Germany. I believe it might have been. Was that when they beat Germany? Okay, yeah. '98 was the Beckham red card. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, when Owen scored that goal against Argentina. Yeah, I remember. Okay, so. Yeah, that World Cup was good. Euro '98. I mean, the World Cup '98. That was good. 2002, I think, is that when Ronaldo had that haircut with the hair still on his hair, half bald and half hair. I think that might have been the one where where Brazil won it. I believe I think they beat Germany in the final, if I remember. If anyone can confirm that. Yep, Thiago Almada from Lyon. Big up DXR. Do you know what? Again, Thiago Almada was another one that was, again, what they do, any player that comes through Argentina now, they're rating him as the next Messi. So Almada had that tag, and now Echeverry's got that tag. So what do I think of Almada? I think he's a good player. I don't know if he's gonna be the player that that a lot of hype has made him out to be, if I'm honest. Obviously, watching him against United in the Europa, I don't think he was that great. I think Ryan Cherky for me is the one. And as Shams just said, yeah, for me, Cherky's special, man. He's someone that, and I can't believe he's got a 16 million release clause and there's no one that's actually triggered it. Like, to me, it doesn't make any sense, because in an era now of football where there isn't too much quality, he's someone with genuine, real quality. I mean, if anyone's seen the video clips of Cherky striking the ball at goal, both feet, I've never seen someone do it that comfortably, like with both feet. And that just shows you the amount of ability that this guy's got. So he's got a 16 million release clause. I just can't believe no one's triggered it yet. But I think he's definitely leaving Lyon. He's already confirmed that. But it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. But for me, yeah, he's a top player, man. And he's someone, as I say, of genuine quality. He was linked to Liverpool. But if anyone remembers Nabil Fekir as well, who I don't know if he's still at Real Betis. But Nabil Fekir was linked to Liverpool, but obviously had the injuries as well. But he's another one, French international, who's a very good player. So, yeah, listen, man, the sticker albums, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I agree, Titanium, man. That haircut was off key. I remember when he done it. I didn't know what was going on when he had that haircut, But again, when you're that good, man, you can have any haircut you want because he produced, man. And as I said, there hasn't been a better striker in the game for me, Sham says Cherky's price tag is around 25 mil. Yeah, but he's got a release clause. I think his release clause might be something like 16 million. That's what I'm trying to say. So, again, if you don't want to play the release clause and you want to play it over in installments, you just pay more money, but you play it over installments, unless you just pay the 16 million outright and get the player. So, but yeah, I think he's got a 16 million release clause. DXR says Yunus Akgan, Leicester loan, now in Turkey. Yeah, that's right. I've heard of him, but I've not seen him play, to be honest. Yeah, I remember that final gamer. Yeah, Zidane got 2 headers, man, and that French team was mad. Henry up top, I think, with David Trezeguet. I think it was Zidane. Was it Djorkaeff? Didier Deschamps, and I think Vieira in the midfield. It was at the back. I think, was it Marcel Desailly and Laurent Blanc, I think. Left back was Lizarazu, Vicente Lizarazu. I think right back would have been Lilian Thuram. What a player Lilian Thuram was, man. And obviously in goal, I think was Fabien Barthez, if I remember. But yeah, that French team was silly, man. Absolute units in that team, man. But they were a problem. And they were the only team that could have beaten that Brazil team, because that Brazil team they were just beating everyone, you know what I mean? So, so Lumi Rain says, do you reckon Palace can keep Eze, Walton, and Guehi now they have Europa? I think, you know what, that's a great question, Lumi. What I would say is that those 3 players there, I believe, if we're looking in the next couple of seasons, won't be at Palace. They'll be playing for, they'll be playing for top 4, top 6 teams in the league. But what I would say is that because they've got Europa League this season, any team coming in for those players, apart from Guehi, because Guehi's contract's running down, you're looking at... So if I look at Eze, I think Palace won't sell him for nothing less than 60, 70 million, I would say now. The same with Wharton. You know, I think I heard talk today that they're looking at Declan Rice money for Wharton. You know, and Guehi, obviously, they turned down 70 million from Newcastle. But I think the fact that he's got his contracts running down, you know, I think you might be able to get him for slightly less. But I think I'll go as far as saying all three of those players won't be at Palace, I think, in the next couple of seasons. I don't believe, you know. So Wharton was linked to Bayern for 60 million. Listen, I can see why, because you know, when you get English players coming through the system, man, they're not meant to be as comfortable on the ball as what Wharton's showing. You know, he's got his low socks. The guy plays the game at his own tempo. You know what I mean? So I can see why Bayern linked to him, because, as I said, you don't really get players like that are English, that are just so cultured on the ball and just so calm. So the fact that he was linked to Bayern, you can see why. And again, I'd love Wharton at Man United, but United ain't getting Wharton. You know what I mean? So yeah, we'll have to wait and see, man. But he definitely won't be at Palace in the next couple of seasons. He won't be. You know, he'll be, because to be fair, his level is you know, he's playing for the teams that are competing for titles. Definitely. The same with Eze, and I say Guehi as well. Yeah, Guehi's gonna go, man, for me. His contract's running down anyway. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Eze and Elise going in the same window is mad. But again, we have to wait and see what teams are going to come forward with bids, because I honestly don't know what a lot of these teams are targeting. Because if you look at Arsenal, look, if we start with Liverpool, yeah, obviously they've got Frimpong. You know, we would say that they need a striker, definitely. But what striker are they looking at? I couldn't tell you. There's not been any concrete interest. I think the striker that Liverpool and Arsenal would like is Isak, but you're not getting Isak, because unless you're going to pay like 150, you know, you're not going to get Isak. So I don't really know what striker Liverpool looking at. You know, are they looking at a midfielder? Who knows? And then you look at Arsenal. You know, everyone knows they need a striker, but again, you know, they've been linked to Benjamin Sesko, to Gyökeres. They've not been linked to a left winger. I know there's been talk about Nico Williams. You know, same with, if you look at Newcastle, again, I've mentioned, they haven't really been linked to any player as such. I think there's been talk about Ekatike, you know. So yeah, I think this summer transfer window is going to be interesting. But there's a lot of teams, really, that we're not really sure who they're going for. I think Man City have made it clear that they want Florian Wirtz and Reinders. So they're making a statement there. So I think they're the only one, I would say, that's comfortably looking to get some top players at the moment, you know. Yeah, Watkins to Arsenal. Now, that's not going to happen now. I think Watkins is turning 30. If they was to sign Watkins, I think, again, not to say Watkins ain't a good player, because he is a good Premiership player, but you have to question Arsenal what they're doing, because he's turning 30, and is Watkins going to get you over the line? He's not, so that'd be mad. So Sham says, that's why I want... Nah, you can't play Florian Wirtz as a false nine. That's wasting Florian Wirtz. Like, yeah, to play Florian Wirtz as a false nine, I can see your thinking, because you've got wide forwards. You've got wide forwards in Mo Salah and Cody Gakpo with the pace. So Wirtz would fit into that. But for me, you can't play Wirtz as a false nine. I think that wastes Florian Wirtz for me, you know. But I can see the thinking. But yeah, Florian Wirtz ain't going to Liverpool anyway, you know. If he goes to anywhere in England, it's going to be Man City. Man City's the ideal team for him. He's got a striker in like Erling Haaland, you know, who's got pace. Florian Wirtz is a playmaker as well. He can pass the ball, so that'll be ideal, you know. And so yeah, but I can see your thinking in getting Wirtz, but as a false nine, nah, man, I can't see Wirtz playing as a false nine. Definitely not. Paul is definitely a Brighton fan. Yeah, do you know what? I didn't actually clock that. Yeah, obviously, he's slating Palace, man. He must be Brighton, yeah. It must be. Obviously, Brighton playing tomorrow against Liverpool, yeah. I think Mo Salah is, what, two... I think he's 2 GA away from breaking the record for most GA in one season. You know, so... And obviously, they're... I think are they at home against Brighton? I'm not too sure. But yeah, I think... Martin, listen, you wouldn't say that to me to my face, Martin. At the day, like, you got no picture, you know, and as I said, man, if you're gonna come in there chatting shit, then obviously my mods will just block you. But you know, you wouldn't say it to my face because it'd be a very different story. You know, I'd put you on your ass, Martin. So yeah, don't come in there and talk shit, man. Like, if you're not gonna contribute to the channel, then yeah, mods, well done, man. Yeah, but yeah, as I said, guys, yeah, mods, well done, man. Just block these clowns, man. Like, these guys coming in with no pictures, chatting shit. Big up to Coral Glasses. Lumi Rain says, will United versus Spurs be the biggest game of the season? I think for both teams, yeah. I think in terms of what's at stake, you know, for both the managers, I think Postecoglou for me is gonna go anyway. I believe if he wins or loses, I think he's gone anyway. I think for Amorim, as I said, who knows what's happening with Amorim? As I've mentioned to you guys before, I need him gone. But I think definitely if he loses, there's no coming back from this for me. But again, if he wins, then you know he might point to the fact that he's won a trophy, even though the stats have proved that United win trophies over the last 10 years, regardless of what manager's there. So I think in terms of that and the fan bases, I would go along with saying it is the biggest game of the season for both teams. It is, yeah, because Spurs haven't won a trophy in how long? United need to win this trophy for money reasons, for financial reasons. So yeah, I'd go along as say I'd go as far as saying, yeah, that both teams it is their biggest game of the season for the fan bases and for the managers. Yeah. Nah, no worries, gamer, man. So Lumi says, is Ratcliffe's ambitions or after money? Well, all right, well, Lumi, listen, we're gonna see at the end of the season, because if Ratcliffe wants United to be back on top of football, then he has to do what's right. And for me, it is, you know, getting rid of the manager regardless, because he ain't good enough, and getting rid of the majority of these players that, you know, that are not good enough as well. So we're gonna really see. You know, I think this is what's gonna be exciting for me, because, you know, Ratcliffe is gonna show why he's there. Because if he makes the good decisions along with Ineos, then I think we can be positive. But if the manager stays for me, and if a lot of these players that should be going stay, then again, Man United are going to be in trouble. So, but yeah, I've got faith in Ratcliffe and in Ineos that they're going to make the right decisions. But we'll have to wait and see, man. As I said, yeah. Listen, I agree with that comment. Looking to save the pennies to make a pound. I agree. Which is why all these cuts are these cuts are coming about. But I'm more interested in the playing squad and the manager, because again, the financial stability of the club, again, I can't control that. You know, that's down to the experts that they are. But what I'm more interested in is the playing squad. You know, the manager, and from what I'm seeing, the manager is out of his depth, regardless of what anyone says, and a lot of these players, you know, these players are better than where they are in terms of league positions, but a lot of them do need to be moved on. So, yeah, listen, Dorgu's still raw for me. You know, he's coming to a team that, let's face it, are struggling, but I would say that he's shown that he's got a lot more to offer. What I don't like is the system that he's playing as a left wing back. I think if he plays as a left back, I think you could mold him into a Alphonso Davies type left back. You know, someone that's got physicality and pace. You know, and I think he'd perform better at left back rather than playing this system as a wing back. You know, that's what I believe. So Paul Brady says Jim Ratcliffe has cursed United, sacking those loyal staff workers. Listen, at the end of the day, you know, people are going to have their say on this and have their opinions. At the end of the day, you know, if he's coming in and the club's been run poorly and he's got to make these cuts, at the end of the day, he's got to do what he's got to do because it's his money that's gone into the club at the end of the day. Because Man United have been run for so badly over the last what, 10, 20 years. So him coming in and making the cuts, you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's a cutthroat business, man. And I know people say that football clubs shouldn't be run as a business, but at the end of the day, it's his money that's been put into the club. So ultimately, he can do what he wants. And if he's had to sack some staff members, then again, man, I know it's a tough world. I know it must be hard, but again, man, he's having to do these things because of the financial state of the club. So for me, again, I'm not really interested in that because that's out of my control. What I can control is how I see how the football's being played, what I can see the decisions that the manager's making. And for me, he's made a lot of wrong decisions. So that's all I'm interested in. All the staff cuts and all the other stuff, I'll leave that to the experts, man, because you have to believe they know what they're doing, really. And Titanium, listen, we cannot start Rasmus in the final. Listen, I'd go as far as saying I wouldn't have that guy in the squad because what I witnessed against Chelsea was the worst performance from a striker I've ever seen. And if you'd have seen my match reaction, like I was pissed off because I couldn't believe that how bad the performance was from Rasmus. He done nothing right, you know. And what I would say is this manager has a decision to make because if he starts Rasmus Højlund is going to be up against Christian Romero and Mickey van der Ven. And you've got Christian Romero, who's the aggressor, and will be bullying Rasmus. And then not to mention, you've got Van der Ven's pace on the cover. So I see Rasmus Højlund getting no change out of Romero and Van der Ven. Because he couldn't even get change out of Tosin and Colwill. So I dread to think what's going to happen when he plays Romero and Van der Ven. And let's remember, both players will be fresh as well because they didn't play no minutes against Aston Villa. So if Amorim plays Rasmus, because what people have to remember as well is that Rasmus cannot hold the ball up. And if the ball keeps going back and forwards all the time, you know, Man United's midfield will get stretched. You know, they're going to get tired from just chasing the ball all the time. And that's going to be because you've got a striker there that cannot hold the ball. So for me personally, I wouldn't play Rasmus. I wouldn't have him in the squad because I think he's a nothing player. I wouldn't even have him come off the bench because I don't see what he offers, you know. And invariably as well, United get worse when he either comes on the pitch or if he starts. So for me, I'll play a false nine. Whether he plays, you know, a Bruno as a false nine or, you know, a Mount or whoever, maybe that's something. Because I think if he plays Mason Mount as a false nine, you know, again, Mason Mount's a midfield player, but that could help to you know, outnumber Tottenham in the midfield, you might say. But what I will say, if he starts with Højlund, you know, I don't see how United get over the line in this game because he's poor, very poor, you know. And regardless of what a lot of these idiots say about Højlund deserves a chance, etc., the guy is just not good enough, man. And I'm not here for none of this nonsense to say give Højlund a chance, you know. Like, he's the worst striker I've seen at the club by far, you know. So Lumi says, I would sign Cunha, Mateta and Livramento if I was United manager. Yeah, to be fair, they're three decent signings. You're not getting Livramento. Cunha's going to cost 60 million release clause, or unless you pay more to pay installments. And Mateta, again, Mateta's not been talked about, but he's a very good striker, and he's someone that United would need. You know, Premier League proven as well. For me, as a lot of you have been watching, who would I sign for United? Midfield, Carlos Baleba. He needs to be made the key signing for me in midfield. If I'm talking about number 10s, yeah, Eze or Cunha on that left-hand side. And if we're talking in defence, I would like to see a Castello Luqueba. You know, I'd like to see Castello. So yeah, for me, Castello Luqueba, Baleba, and Eze or Cunha for me. And then obviously, you know, you got likes of Cherky, Tyler Dibbling as well. But these players won't cost a lot of money, I don't think. But the ones that are going to cost a bit of money, that should be made the key signings for me. Baleba, Eze or Cunha, and Castello Luqueba for me. So Paul Brady says, another Jim Ratcliffe bootlicker I see. It's not been a bootlicker, Paul Brady. It's you're just in your feelings, man, at the end of the day. We're having a conversation because you're talking about him getting rid of the staff, you know. At the end of the day, we don't have no control over that. So you just talking about the staff and me giving my opinion, that's what it is. But if you think I'm a bootlicker, then that's your opinion. You're wrong, but unless you're going to come out with anything positive to counteract that, then the only bootlicker I see is yourself, man. But, you know. I hope Wilcox doesn't let him pick Rasmus. Listen, as I said, do I expect Rasmus to start? I do, you know. And that's going to be a decision that Amram is going to have to live with, because that's going to be a massive decision if he plays Højlund. Because the fact that Højlund played that badly against Chelsea, but the thing is, the way the manager talked him up after the game, it makes me think that he might start. But I reckon everyone needs to be aware of what's going to happen in that game, because again, guys, I'll be doing a live watch along on that Wednesday, so make sure you come in and obviously get involved. And as I said, I'll be watching that game closely, and Rasmus Højlund is going to be key in terms of, if he does play, in helping United not be under pressure. Because if that ball goes up to him and it's coming back all the time, United are going to be in trouble, you know. But we'll have to wait and see what he does. But hopefully Wilcox does have a word, but who knows? Who knows? So Paul Brady says, selling 2 players would have paid the loyal workers wages for 2 years. All right, Paul. Seeing as you got all the ideas, who would you have sold them, Paul? Let's hear it. Because a lot of this talk you're coming out with, it's showing me you're getting this from other people. So what 2 players would you have sold? And how would you have sold them? Let's run it through, Paul. Come on. Let's see what you've got to say. Mount has impressed me recently. He's not really impressed me, to be honest with you. I think against Athletic Bilbao, there's no denying that the 2 goals were of real quality, you know. But again, the guy's been there for 2 seasons, has hardly played, you know. So as I said on the reaction after that game, let's give Mount his praise for the 2 finishes, 2 quality finishes. But, you know, unless Mount is going to turn in performance after performance on a weekly basis, what does that actually mean? You know, that them 2 finishes really. I mean, it's good for his confidence, you know, but on the whole, the guy's wearing number 7. You know, he costs what, 60 mil, 250 grand a week, you know, and he's been injured half the time. So, you know, let's just wait and see, man, because he's another player for me, which I don't believe happens, but needs to be moved on in the summer. Yeah, listen, Rasmus Højlund's played nearly 100 games. Yeah, listen, as I said, Rasmus Højlund, I'm not gonna go too much into Rasmus Højlund, because a lot of you know my thoughts on this guy anyway, you know, and Ineos just need to do what's right in the summer, you know, and part ways with him, because the fact that he's wearing number 9 and cost 72 million and scored what, 3 or 4 league goals this season, enough said, you know. Big up to Usman Esan. It says, why Man United not winning? Asks Ruben Amorim. Asks Amorim. So Sham says, you haven't mentioned anyone to replace Højlund. Well, where do I start? So if we're looking in the Premier League, Jean-Philippe Mateta, Liam Delap, that's 2 already. And I'm talking about realistic strikers, yeah. So if we're changing this system as well, because again, this system's only in play because of Amorim, but I don't rate this system. I'd rather see a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. So based on that, just restore Xerxes to being the striker. So for me, you got Xerxes, you got Mateta, Delap. They're 3 strikers that I would have ahead of Højlund already. Then you've got the likes of Osimhen, who, again, I'd prefer Mateta, but if Osimhen came in, I don't mind. Liam Delap, I'm not Liam that, sorry. Victor Gyökeres, again, I'd prefer Liam Delap. There's loads. You know, I wanted John Duran, but he's in Saudi. So, yeah, just get Højlund at the club. Ekatike, I'd have as well. Just get Højlund at the club, because he's not the level. He's nowhere near the level, you know. And again, he would struggle at any team in this league. If we're looking at every team in the league, if we're looking at the bottom team in this league, which is who? Southampton. Who's Southampton's striker? What's his name? Cameron Archer. Cameron Archer's betting. That's how bad it is. Cameron Archer is playing for Southampton, who are bottom of the league, and he's betting in Rasmus Højlund. Even that Paul Onuachu, the tall striker, he's better than Rasmus Højlund. So this is what I'm trying to say to you. This is how bad it is. But big up, man, anyway. So Lumi Rain says, congratulations on getting 1K subs. Just realised. Yeah, big up, Lumi. I hit 1K subs about a week, I think 2 weeks ago. Yeah, but big up, man. Obviously, you know, obviously trying to grow, you know, onto bigger and better things. So now I've hit, obviously, I'm past 1K now. Obviously, the next target is 2K. And then we keep growing from there. But, yeah, big up anyway. Okay, so Paul Brady says Rashford and Anthony, simple. Well, I'll tell you why it's not simple, okay? So, first and foremost, Paul, if we talk about Marcus Rashford, you know, so the fact that Amorim let Rashford go in January, yeah, was poor, knowing that he wasn't going to get anyone to replace him. That's the first thing. Rashford's on, what, 300K a week? 350 I've been hearing, but he's on 350K a week. And you're looking at the transfer fee. We would say, with his wages, Man United probably be looking for probably 40 million to get rid of him. So who's going to pay Rashford 40 million and pay his wages unless Rashford takes a wage cut? Okay. Now, in the Premier League, you know, there would be teams that probably would look at Rashford because of his name, but no one's going to pay the wages. That's the first thing, and the transfer fee. So him going abroad, he would have to take a massive cut. Obviously, he wants to go to Barcelona as well. And going to Barcelona, he would have to take a massive wage cut. And then Barca would have to at least pay probably 30, 40 million, okay? Which isn't going to be easy to do. Not to mention, I wanted Rashford gone about 3 or 4 years ago, you know, because, not saying I wanted him gone, but he was never the level that he's been made out to be. That's the second thing, you know. And but to think that United have a strike force of Højlund and Garnacho that's in that front line, I don't want to hear no one tell me about Rashford should be going, because yeah, if we're being serious, he should go, but Højlund and Garnacho need to go before him. So that's the first thing. And getting rid of Rashford ain't going to be easy unless, as I said, he takes a wage cut and there's going to be suitors in for him. Then we look at Anthony. Anthony, obviously, in this system, you know, could have played as a wing-back. The manager didn't want to use him. Obviously, Anthony's on, what, 200 grand a week, cost 80 million. If I'm comparing Anthony to Garnacho, it's night and day. Anthony's a lot better player than Garnacho. But the thing is, this fan base are in love with Garnacho and have given him so much time. And let's face it, he's not good enough. I don't care about his age. He's 20, you know. He's had almost, I think he's had over 100 games in Man United's first team. So this whole give him time nonsense, I don't want to hear it. He ain't good enough. And the fact of the matter is, Anthony's gone on loan to Betis. And the manager has said that he couldn't hack the physicality, which is a complete lie. Because he's physically stronger than Garnacho. And probably quicker than him as well. So this whole, he can't hack the physicality is a lie, as I said. And not to mention, Anthony's another one that will need to take a wage cut. And a team needs to be willing to pay probably Rashford price to get him as well. You know? So to say that it's simple, I don't know where you're getting that nonsense from. And Man United have more pressing matters in the likes of Garnacho and Højlund to get rid of before Rashford and Anthony, in my opinion. Because if you bring back Rashford and Anthony, let's say, who are both on higher wages, I agree to that. But no one can tell me that Garnacho and Højlund are a better combination than Rashford and Anthony, because they're not. So when you're saying it's simple, I don't know, I'm not sure what you're talking about there. And he says, or 5 reserve players. Again, who are the reserve players? Gamer says Anthony or Sancho. For me, Sancho. So what time will you go live on Wednesday? I will join before kickoff, but I don't do watch-alongs for big games. Yeah, listen, I don't normally do watch-alongs because I like watching the game on my own. But I think because of the magnitude of this game, I think, you know, I'm gonna do a watch-along. So I'll be live at 7:45, obviously 8 p.m. kickoff. So again, if you guys want to come through, 7:45 a start. Obviously, it should be enough time to go through the lineup, and obviously 8 o'clock kickoff, and then we'll see how this game pans out. So yeah, I'll be live at 7:45, but it's scheduled anyway. So give a check on the schedule. So Paul Brady said Ratcliffe has killed the community spirit at United. And Paul, what I would say to you, Paul, is again, you're entitled to your opinion, but it's this nonsense as to why United are in the place they are. Because this whole sentimental crap that they keep doing, this family club crap, is why they're in the problem they are. Because Man United should be Man United have to be a ruthless club. You know, all this sentiment for players and workers, etc., and the manager, like I've never seen nothing like it. You know, over all my years of watching football, this crap just needs to stop. You know, so when you're saying it's killed the community spirit at United, how do you know that? Like, you can't talk for everyone. You know, so I don't agree with that. Gamer says Callum Wilson or Rasmus Højlund. That's a good one because Callum Wilson, to be fair, has dropped off massively, but he's still better than Rasmus Højlund. That's what I'm trying to tell you. His performance today was pretty poor. It wasn't really in the game, but he's better than Rasmus Højlund. That's my point. Rasmus Højlund is the worst striker in the league. You know what I mean? There ain't no one worse than him. Yeah, no worries, Titanium. Big up, man. So Abu Muada says, just imagine the Qataris bought Man United. Yeah, listen, but there's no point thinking of that because the Qataris were there, you know, and the Glazers, I don't think the Glazers had any intention of sending it to the Qataris. So this talk now is irrelevant. We have to just deal with what's happening now. And Ratcliffe, you know, has got a minority stake in the club and he's obviously brought in Ineos. We have to just see what Ineos do because, as I said, you know, this club's an absolute shambles. You know, they're in turmoil at the moment. And as I said, in the summer, we're going to see what really happens because a lot is going to be based on this final. And we're going to really see what's going on. So that's what I'm going to say, really. So Gamer says, yo, I'm looking forward in watching your match watch-along. I always wanted to see match watch-alongs. You should do more if you can. Yeah, Gamer, big up, man. As I said, I don't mind doing watch-alongs. I like watching the game, as I said, on my own. But as I said, the magnitude of this game, you know, and obviously if you guys want to come through and interact, then I'm happy to do a watch along. But yeah, and in the future, I probably might think about doing more. But big up. Big up to Sham. Yeah, no worries, bro, man. As I said, we're live at 12:30 tomorrow. Me and Nick Zedra. So yeah, make sure you come through, man. But big up yourself anyway. So Paul Brady says you don't care about the fans, just like Jim Ratcliffe. Well, as I said, I don't know the fans, so I'm just talking from someone that's experienced a lot of football, and all what you're coming out with, isn't the sign of someone that wants the club to get back to where they should be. Because as I said, this whole sentiment about workers losing their jobs, again, I sympathise with all that, but the owners had to do something, and if that's their choice that they've taken, who am I to tell them how to go and do their job? Because at the end of the day, he's put his money into the club, so we can't be saying that what they're doing is wrong. It is what it is at the end of the day. He had his reasons, and if Man United are gonna progress because of these decisions, we'll have to wait and see. But when you're saying I don't care about the fans, again, it's nothing to do with that. I just want Man United to get back on top of not just English football, but European football as a whole. Because I look at the playing squad, and a lot of the players that the majority of this fan base rate, I don't rate, and no one's gonna change my mind. No one's gonna convince me that these players, the likes of Garnacho, Højlund, Bruno Fernandes, those three in particular that I'm mentioning, because those three, in terms of attacking sense, for some reason are adored by this fan base. And they're three of the worst players at the club. I know Bruno gets numbers, but people don't watch the games properly no more. I watch performances, and a lot of his performances have been underwhelming. But because he's on every, as I said, set piece, corners, free kicks, penalties, every time he gets the ball, they want to give him the ball. He's a captain. He plays where he wants. People don't look at the bigger picture. If you've got a player like that in the team, it's going to be taken away from others. And my thing is, I want Man United to be more of a team, and first and foremost, just get some quality players in. The thing with these last two managers in Ten Hag and Ruben Amorim, they just seem hell-bent on picking athletes, and I don't care what anyone says, athletes don't win you anything, it's quality. And I just want to see Man United just be linked or buy players with real quality, and until that happens, Man United are going to be in the same situation. So as I said, the manager for me has to go, and a lot of these players after this final, I want to see what Ineos are going to be looking at, who they're bringing in and who they can get rid of. So Gamer says, do you know Exedra in real life? I don't. Obviously, he's come through, onto my channel. And as I said, man, I'm going to do a live stream of him tomorrow at 12:30. So, yeah, obviously, we're going to get into a few things. Obviously, team of the season, Europa League final, Champions League final, and just general chat from the season. What standout teams and standout players from the Premier League season. So, yeah, make sure you're there. So, Paul Brady says, you're just stuttering through defending Jim the Rat. Yeah, Paul, maybe go back to that other channel, man, and talk this nonsense. Again, you're not forced to be here, man, but I think what you're saying now is just a load of rubbish, really, But guys, as I said, big up everyone for coming through. We got 14 likes. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do. And if you haven't smashed that like button as well, let's try and get to 15 before the stream's over. But yeah, appreciate everyone coming through and supporting the channel. And as I said, I'll be back tomorrow with Exedra. So make sure you come through at 12:30 if you're free. And obviously give us some support and give us your questions as well. And obviously we'll be going through again the Europa League, Champions League, and team of the season. So yeah, make sure you make sure you get involved, guys, and interact. And as I said, next week, Wednesday, is going to be crucial, guys. It's going to be crucial. So make sure you are here, guys, for the watch along on Wednesday. Make sure you're here tomorrow as well at 12:30. And again, guys, I'll be doing a player spotlight on Tuesday, looking at a certain player for the opposition who I think is going to be key for them. And as I said, make sure you guys keep interacting, guys. Appreciate you every single time for coming on and contributing to the channel. And yeah, I'm going to catch you guys tomorrow. Take it easy.